cleared the way for sports wagering outside of Nevada, and already some New Yorkers are making the trek to bet on their favorite teams. Well, there's a change for women in the Navy, as we hear from Fox's Rachel Sutherland.
Women in the Navy can let their hair down. Ponytails and other hairstyles are now permitted, changing a long-standing policy that had forbidden it. Sailor Yeoman First Class Latoya Jones made the announcement this past week.
Female sailors wearing dinner dress uniforms will be allowed to wear their hair in a style that falls below the collar of shirts, jackets, and coats.
Many black women had asked for grooming standards to be changed. The new policy also allows lock hairstyles and rope-like strands and wider hair buns. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
A startling discovery in Egypt. Archaeologists have found a mummification workshop near the country's famed pyramid south of Cairo. They also discovered a shaft used as an ancient burial place. The site is 2,500 years old, located in Egypt's first capital. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News Radio. Getting ready to meet Vladimir Putin. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News. President Trump spending the weekend at his golf resort in Scotland. Fox's Kevin Cork reporting from Glasgow.
The president will not only be here in Scotland, folks, having some meetings and playing a bit of golf. He'll be doing a great deal of preparation for that big summit. Okay, it's a bilateral, if you will, with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
President Trump, as we said, spending his weekend in Scotland. The meeting will come just days after a federal grand jury indicted 12 Russian intelligence officers for allegedly stealing Democratic emails during the 2016 campaign. The president has said he will bring up Russian meddling in the U.S. election when he sits down with Putin. The president had plenty of company in Scotland, thousands of protesters. More from Sally Lockwood of our sister network, Sky News.
But there was no escaping the protests which have followed him north of the border. Thousands taking to the streets of Edinburgh. The overriding message, you're not welcome here.
We don't like his politics. We don't want his politics here.
Well, we all make choices in life, and he's making choices that aren't good for people. They're not good for people.
I disagree with everything he's doing. And as far as I'm concerned, he's not welcome in this country.
A much smaller protest gathered outside his Aberdeenshire resort.
And the Trump baby balloon, which flew over London, followed the president from England to Scotland. Defense Secretary James Mattis praising Norway's defense minister for his support of NATO.
Also appreciate the increased support, Minister Frank, of NATO's support in mission in Afghanistan, certainly in Iraq.
This comes days after.
Picoso, not mocoso, with Don Jorge Ortiz and Alicia Lara. George, former California Democrat union man turned legislative GOP chairman.
And Alice, former New Mexico Democrat turned legislative GOP district state committee woman.
Together, they are your Chips and Salsa show hosts.
Get your guac on, now with George Ortiz and Alice Lara.
Hey, it's time for another edition of the Chips and Salsa Show, here every Saturday at 4 p.m. on Center Right Radio. Thank you, Chipsters. We're so happy that you're here. I'm Alice Lara with... Who are you?
Don Jorge El Alacran. I almost forgot.
George Ortiz is here. He's a snappy dresser in his, let's see, what do you have today? Proud, deplorable, and your fancy scarf. What does it say?
It says, don't tread on me.
Don't tread on you?
Yeah. You know, tires. It's a good scarf.
Don't tread on you.
They gave me one of those when I was in Cub Scouts.
Oh, okay.
And that's the voice of today is our guest. We'll bring him on in just a few minutes. That's Steve Sandoval. He'll be talking to us about recruiting Latinos in a very Christian way. And we're also happy to have, what we'll have here in a little bit too, is my good friend Patty Stetson. Hello, Patty.
How are you doing, Miss Alice?
Good. And she actually is Arizona woman, okay? But right now she's living in California. She's helping out her familia. and she's visiting. So she's going to tell us about some very interesting things that are happening in California. You will not want to miss that. So let's take care of some housekeeping. First of all, I want to give some giant kudos and thanks to our technical director, and that is Julian Allison. Woo! Yeah. And also our director and founder of Center Right Radio is Brandon Jones. Brandon is awesome. He's also our Legislative District 27 chairman. So thank you, Brandon. We want to thank our producer, and that's Sonia Siegert. Secret Sonia. She takes care of, she handles the whole enchiladas and the cocotazos. She keeps track of those. So every week we bring them to you so we can vote on them. And remember, if you have any, let us know about them. Our music is provided by my nephew David Beasley, and the logo was created by my great niece Monica Lara. If you have business for her, if you'd like her to design something for you, please give her contact. She's really good. She does things in kind of an animated form, but she's very talented. She's been on our show, and we're hoping she's going to visit soon and do that as well. George, we have to, I'm sorry?
She did my logo.
She did your logo?
I don't know if you remember that. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
I
That's
love it.
great. Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, well, let's see, we're going to show that on Facebook too. We'll focus in on that.
I love it.
Great. We have a lot to talk about today, but you know what, George? While we're talking about this, what I would like our audience to do is go to Center Right Radio or to our site. We're going to share it in just a second, and share this on your Facebook site so people can watch it. If you aren't on Facebook, you can also listen or watch us on centerright.live. Forget about the wwws. Go to centerright.live, and you can watch us, just the video, and you say, hey. George, while I do that, tell the people about what we did last night.
We had a candidates meet and greet last night, and we had invited candidate Moses Sanchez. Everybody knows he's running for mayor of Phoenix, and he's a great candidate. So we started with that, and before we knew it, it had developed into like 28 candidates or more that had showed up. We had Ken Bennett show up. We had Kelly Ward show up. We had Diane Douglas show up. We had...
and this is actually for the Central Republican Women of Phoenix.
Yes.
Did it.
And then it was at a club...
It was at Half Moon Windy City, and in fact, our good friend Patty Stetson was there too.
Yeah, she was there.
How many people do you think were there? It was a lot of people.
They stopped taking names, about 80, something like that, and so it was very well. A lot of people attended.
Wow. Yeah, and you know, I was so happy to see everybody there, and there were a lot of good Republican candidates. If you haven't made up your mind, this is one of the reasons to listen to our show and watch it. Also, the show before us, and that's Ron Harda's show, because we try to bring the candidates on here so you can make up your mind. You know, some of us have made up our mind already, but not everybody has. So we also have invited, we ran into Diane Douglas there, so next week she's going to join us. She's going to be on.
We had Jeff Fine. He's going a Republican for clerk of the court. Of course, Kelly Ward. We have Bob Branch. He's running for superintendent of public instruction. We had Joanne Sabat. She's running for state treasurer. We had Shafa. And she's
Farhana Shifa, she's been on our show before.
She's running for the state house, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Steve Ferrara.
We actually had a surrogate from his
campaign.
Yeah.
And
he's running for Congress.
And then we had Ken Bowers. Was he there?
Ken Bowers was there, yes. We also had Lisa Adkins, who was in our Central Republican Women of Phoenix group.
And we had a representative from Doug Ducey's campaign running for governor, and we have Ken Bennett there. He was there in person. He's also running against Doug Ducey, and many more. I mean, it was a full house.
Great candidates.
It was awesome. It was. I'm sure that Patty agrees. It was a lot of people there.
If you go to our page, both my page, the Chips and Salsa page, Alice's page, you'll see videos and photographs from the event last night.
Great. I want to tell you what I did this morning also.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something a little bit different. Starting today, our format, typically we have 4 segments of the show and we have little commercial breaks, but we're starting something different today. We're going to have only 1 commercial break. So that means more time to listen to us and check us out. And that's going to start, we'll have kind of a longer extended break, but it'll be nicer. We think it's going to work better. This morning, I want to let you know, George, I got to attend it's called Kalo. I think that's how they pronounce it. CALO. C-A-L-O. It's the Conservative American Latino Organization, and that was out in the West Valley. They are advocating traditional American values with a little Latino twist. I tried to get the guy on here. His name is Sid, who's running this organization, but he couldn't come in because I thought it'd be a nice little compliment to you, Steve, because I know you're kind of doing the same thing. So I'm just going to read their mission. Our mission is to inform citizens about the rich heritage of America, including the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and Bill of Rights. We will expose the truth that Latinos oppose an open border and the welfare state. We will provide real news about events and legislation across America. Working together, we will protect our homeland, defeat laws that would infringe on life, liberty, and property. God bless the USA. And we're all on the same page with that here.
Yes.
I know that very much. So I've booked Sid. He's going to be on our show, I think, in August. Just life is busy, but please, I look forward to that. Check them out. They are on Facebook. And let's see, did he give a website? I think their website's still under construction. But look for Conservative American Latino Organization. Like their page. And while you're there, if you haven't yet, like our page. And that's the Chips and Salsa Show. Chips, letter N, Salsa Show. Okay, George, should we go ahead? Let's see, we do have the cocotazos coming up and the whole enchilada. Should we go ahead and play the Prather Point and then we'll get right into it with Steve?
Yep.
Want to do that? All right, Mr. Julian, is that enough of a heads up for you to get things rolling there? All right, great. All right, so without further ado, we're going to play our really good friend, Jeff Prather, who's our fast and furious whistleblower. He has his political pulse on the dark state. And here we go with the Prather Point.
Hola a todos, Jeff Prather here, ex-DEA, Army Special Operations Intelligence, Fast and Furious Whistleblower on the Chips and Salsa Show with this week's Prather Point. So the government lying and being unjust as opposed to giving us justice through the Department of Justice is nothing new. Just ask any tribal people of Africa heritage or any tribal people from the original American heritage, how they have been unjustly treated, slavery and genocide. But it has gotten much, much worse. Remember, Obama began this legacy. It started before him, but he really brought the Frankenstein monster to life with, you can keep your doctor and shovel-ready jobs. Hillary lied repeatedly, 30,000 plus emails. Attorney General, the top law enforcement officer of the country, held in contempt of court for perjury and not cooperating with Congress. Lois Lerner took the fifth. We have to pay our taxes, but she can lie and not answer questions. Comey lied and is still lying. Lynch took the fifth 70 times about the Clinton tarmac meeting. Then most recently, last month, James Wolfe, the former head of Senate Intelligence Security, was indicted actually for lying. Actually, somebody left out in the cold, very surprising because most of Clinton's people were given immunity. Page is deciding today, as I record this, to do a closed-door interview after refusing to answer Congress's subpoena. And yesterday we saw Strzok lie repeatedly with his arrogant, smarmy smile and his superiority. And this is what has really become frightening, is the Democrats applauded him. The Democrats on the panel, who are supposed to be impartial lawmakers, were applauding his arrogance and his obvious lying. This is very frightening, especially since he admitted essentially that Hillary's statement was changed too careless from gross negligence, which would have made it impossible not to charge her. That was his computer that did that. Still, he is claiming that he did nothing wrong. This is what we now see over and over from government officials: arrogance, incompetence, and corruption. And that is a recipe for disaster. But it's good that it's finally coming out, because we are now all being treated like indigenous Americans and being put on reservations and being lied to and cheated on. And it's time we stopped it. This is Jeff Prather on the Chips and Salsa Show with this week's Prather Point. Hola a
And
todos,
that was
Jeff
Jeff
Prather
Prather
here,
with the Prather
ex-DEA,
Unfortunately,
Army Special Operations
Julian,
Intelligence.
if they're listening on Facebook, can they hear the Prather Point on Facebook?
Yeah.
You can? Okay, good. All right. So I apologize if I was playing it and messing you guys up because I couldn't hear it, so I wanted to hear it. But Jeff Prather always, he's from that place. He used to be there, and during the Obama years, they took him out. They didn't like him because he was a Fast and Furious whistleblower, and he was trying to tell the truth. So they went after him. Consequently, he's not in there anymore. But he still has friends there. And I started listening to him, I always tell the story, on the James T. Harris show out of Tucson. And he would say these outrageous things, but he was right, because he had his pulse on that. So that's why we feature him every week, and we thank him for being here. He was actually in the studio a couple of weeks ago, and we hope to have him back real soon. Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring Steve in here. We want to welcome to our show Steve Sandoval, who is with Freedom Quest America. And you haven't been here for a while. Welcome back, man.
It's good to be here, and I really appreciate you guys bringing me back.
And you're in the golden mic.
Yes. Boy, you guys have really moved up. I'll tell you what, this is exciting to be with you guys and see how much you've grown. And it's good to be back to work with you. Like I said, I've been working on finishing my book, and so people can now go to my website and download the free ebook, and then people can once they do that, we send them a link where I send a video, about an hour presentation that explains our vision and our mission.
So tell the audience, and actually you have a military background too, right?
Yes, United States Air Force.
Right, and salute on that. We found out that you were in New Mexico, I think, right?
Yes, Holloman Air Force Base.
Right, okay, good deal. So
what's the name of the book, by the way?
Well, I was just going to ask him. Why don't you
No, I'm just kind of
I don't want to jump on you.
Reading her brain cells. Right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about your background and your book and why you wrote it and things like that.
Well, and in my presentation, I go through all that, and it's really cool when I started putting this together is, Ike was kind of born to be, we were joking a little bit before, but I was serious. I am the modern day patriot. People call me now Captain America. And the reason why is our motto is it's time to take back America, back to God, back to the Constitution, and back to we the people. And what I mean by that, back to God, is back to the original purpose that God has for our country. He's not done with us yet. And back to his standard, back to the Constitution, meaning back to we are a nation of rules and law, and our nation's laws are based on what? The Ten Commandments. And then, of course, back to we the people. And that's what Trump and Mike Pence are working very hard to do, is to get us back, bring the power back to we the people. So my background starts where I go into the presentation where my first memory is the day that John F. Kennedy died. I was 18 months old, sitting in a high chair with my mom here in Phoenix. They had lived in Phoenix for a little bit, and that made a huge impression on my little mind. And then I just loved watching TV, and for whatever reason I watched the news, the little black and white TV, watching the news. And eventually my mom took me to an event at the airport where Hubert Humphrey was. So that was the beginning of my politics. So my book is called Freedom Quest America, and then I lead people to take what I call the Eagle Seminar, the 3 pillars of freedom, and I talk about religious, economic, and political freedom, and what our founders meant and what they intended for us as citizens. Being, John Adams says our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people, and it's totally inadequate for any other. And that's why we have this divide today, is we have about 30% of Americans that want nothing to do with God. They want nothing to do with the purpose, the original intent of our country. So this is the big divide. And so what we're trying to do is to bring America together. And I believe there are millions of patriots like us sitting around this table here that we are in really another American Revolution. And our spirit is coming together. We're going to unite. My book is based on Ephesians 4, Freedom Quest America. Ephesians 4 is God wants to bring us together to unite us in maturity. Now listen, what I explained though is conservatives and Christians are not very good at working together. You know why? We allow issues and personalities as conservatives to divide us and discourage us, and we quit, or we can't work with that person. As Christians, we allow denomination and doctrine, and then we get dogmatic about certain things.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that Mommy and Daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14,
41, 31, 13. We
took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the Search Engine and Digital Marketing Race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired Warhorse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that Mommy and Daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford. Now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water
just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
And we are back with the Chips and Salsa Show. I'm Alice Slaughter here with
Don Jorge.
And we have Patty Stetson here visiting from Cali. We're going to turn just a little bit. We also have Steve Sandoval. He's going to tell us about an event here. But first, we're going to hear from Jorge because he wants to tell us about One Truth.
This segment is brought to you by One Truth, our sponsor, with one of our sponsors, and they're a progressive rock group from Virginia, and they have the song Inferno, which I love, and Ocean of Dreams, A Company of Baby Flowers, Christian Sky. They go into a little bit of religion in a way. It's like listening to a rock group that has Christian beliefs. So we like to promote them. Go to iTunes and look under One Truth with J.C. Gonzalez, and you could download their CDs and listen to the filming of Inferno, which is a great video that he has on there. So again, we give them a little love on iTunes, and you'll be supporting the Chips and Salsa Show.
We appreciate that. They've been a sponsor for a long time. If you'd like to sponsor our show, we have very affordable sponsorships. We'd love to have you. Working on a few deals. I think we're going to have some pretty darn soon here, but it's a big familia. It's all good. What I want to do, George, now, if it's all right, I want to talk to Patty for a little bit because she brought my attention to something that I did not know about. Okay, so if you listen to our show or if you follow politics at all, that California, we're getting a lot of escapees from California. A lot of people are moving here from California. They're moving to Arizona. If you are on Facebook and you have the conservative Hispanic, he did a whole rant on YouTube, and he was about, okay, if you're going to come here, don't bring your liberal politics here. We want to keep Arizona great, okay? But Patty was telling me, and welcome, Patty Stetson.
Thank you.
You're just a dynamic, wonderful friend and a great Republican. And I love you so much. But she brought this, she gave me this little card. She goes, look what I found on my doorstep. And it says, Siren, Services, Immigrant Rights, and Educational Network. So why don't you just explain your reaction, and I'll give you the card, and you can tell the audience about this.
Well, I was coming home and got out of the car, and it was on the sidewalk, and I said, well, let me pick up this debris. And immediately before, they were talking about a 911 call for suicide prevention. So I said, Siren, oh, they're bringing something in for the 911, some other 3-digit number for suicides instead of some long number that nobody's going to remember when they're ready to jump off a bridge. But anyway, I started to read it and I went, rapid response, oh, like Jose's rapid response team, okay? I'm thinking this is something good, and I turn it over, and you have your rights. Remain calm. This is when ICE is showing up at your doorstep. And at that time, actually it was maybe a week or so later, the Oakland mayor put out her siren and said, okay, everybody that's here illegally, take cover, get out of town, do whatever. And they made a big to-do out of this. And ICE came out almost for nothing because all of their investigation and prior, research into what they were going to do and who they were going to arrest sort of fell by the wayside because these characters had left town. So apparently there is a network that you can get onto, give a number, and they'll call you when ICE is in town. So I was pretty alarmed about this.
Wow. And it's called what? Siren?
Actually, that is part of their Siren's rapid response. Text Siren to 201-468-6088, and you can get on their little call.
Maybe we should do that.
So that's the call letter for ICE to for the illegals, and they get on there, and this group warns them when ICE is going to come into the community to round up some illegals, and that is terrible.
That's amazing.
Here on the back it says, receive text notifications when ICE activity happens in Northern and Central California to protect your family and neighbors. If you are a relative is detained by ICE, or if ICE is outside your home, or if you suspect ICE activity, send a text to that number that I gave you before.
Patty, by any chance, did you do any research and see who's behind that or who's funding that?
I did not, but I know it covers all of California. This is just Northern and Central, this phone number.
That is amazing to me. And, I always think that anything that happens in Cali, it's like coming to a state near you. It's something to watch for. Since you're here, I want to take advantage because I know that you've been living in California for a little bit now, helping out your grandbabies.
Yes.
Give us some impressions. California's just going crazy with all kinds of legislation and different things. give us some of your thoughts. Do you think we have a chance to get a Republican governor in there?
I second that. However, I was very surprised that Cox did come in second after whoever the guy's name is, you know. But he's probably going to be the winner.
Now in California, they have a different kind of primary.
They
it's
have
the top two vote getters,
top
right?
two, gosh darn it, they do.
So it could have been that you would have two Democrats.
Two Democrats, and that's what we all thought, but Cox pulled ahead. So, but however, the registration for Democrats just sorely outweighs the registration for Republicans. And, you know, there are a few Republican cities down south that are objecting to the sanctuary state business because, give me a break.
Yeah.
That really is interpreted as, the way I see it, is we're going to defend the illegal criminals better than we're going to defend the American citizen. And that's really what it winds down to. And why there are some people that believe that way, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I'm from California. The best governor they had was Ronald Reagan. And after that, I saw hope in the Terminator. And I go, okay, we got the Terminator. Right. There's no way that California is going to leave the Republican Party. Well, that didn't last too long. And he terminated himself out of the governorship. So.
You know, and full disclosure, I should say, too, you actually married a gentleman.
Mexican, yes. My children were born in Mexico.
Right. And did he become a legal American, or you lived in Mexico?
I was a New York kid.
New York City.
New York, Long Island.
All right.
And we moved to Mexico when I was 7, and I came back in the summer of 1960, which was when what? Oh, you weren't born yet, Mr. Sandoval. But that was the Kennedy-Nixon debates. And every summer, every winter in Mexico, I would say, Dad, when are we going back to the States? So I spent 9 straight years in Mexico City.
Wow.
And had a great education, great cultural indoctrination, loved the country and the people. However, I was an American in my heart, and I wanted to go back to my country. And what a surprise when I crossed in Del Rio, Texas, thinking of New York City skyscrapers, and there might have been a pumper out there in the distance, oil pumper, and that was it. But we landed in California and watched the Kennedy-Nixon debates, and that's when my patriotism, of course, was, I knew that man had to be president because he said everything a patriot wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, and you are bilingual also.
I am bilingual,
yes. Too. And we hope when you come and visit Arizona, and maybe hopefully when you finally come back for good, you keep visiting us and be an ambassador for the Chips and Salsa show.
I'd love to.
George, you know what? Because we haven't done the cocotazos and whole enchiladas, let's do them so we don't forget them, and then we can get back to some more politics. What do you think? Shall we? Okay. So George, tell the audience what a cocotazo is, sir.
A cocotazo is, in the Puerto Ricans, is when you get you say something stupid and your mom just hits you above in the back of your head, just kind of gives you a cocotazo, just enough to get your attention that you said something stupid, and we called it a cocotazo. In Mexican, it's a chanclazo. It's when Grandma used to take that chancla, the slipper, from her, and just swing.
I got one on today. Look, we have props.
And see if it reaches Julian over there.
Julian, need to wake up.
And if you said something, same thing, stupid or something, your relative would shoot that chancla across the room, and they were getting pretty good at that. A good trajectory, I guess you can call it.
And Steve, did you have a chancla thrown at you ever?
No.
You know, my mom and
dad.
My mom and dad never did the chancla. They just my dad looked at his belt. I always joke about that.
That's what my dad had.
Yeah.
The belt. You just show the belt.
Yeah. I mean, the worst was if he snapped the belt. That was.
You've gotten.
You're in trouble. Memories are coming in.
Oh right? Yeah. All right. So let's see. So what we do is, if you're new to our show, we have nominations through the week, and what we do is we nominate people. So if there's something dumb that we think they did, we say you're a cocotazo nomination or a cocotazo alert. And I always like to remind the audience, our chipsters out there, if you come across one that we've missed, please let us know about it. You know, send us a Facebook message.
And we have a lot of followers now that love the cocotazo nominations and love the whole enchiladas. So this is really catching on.
And we never have, the only reason we have such few is we've been really, really busy doing stuff, but usually we have like a whole list. We have to whittle them down to 2 or 3. Okay, so the Kokataso nominations. The first one is we have Students Hate Trump's SCOTUS pick before he makes it. Did you guys watch that video?
Yeah, before he even decided who he was going to pick, they already had their counterattack on it. I mean,
He's a fascist.
And they had just the blank. The name was left blank. So.
They hadn't even picked him. They didn't even know who it was. But, oh, no, he's a terrible racist and everything. It was embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for these young people. Number 2, so what you want to do, and we're going to have Patty's going to play, and Steve. I don't know if Julian's going to play, but he's always welcome to. So you want to keep in mind and see which is the worst, and then we're going to vote on that. All right, number 2 is the report. California town becomes California, here we are, Patty. The California town, I think this is Stockton, becomes the first in the nation to give away free money. What is it, like $500 a month they want to decide to do?
It's a stipend, yeah. She could look at that too, the way you guys can share.
Number 3, LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department, searching for a woman caught on video stealing a wedding ring at the Studio City nail salon. Did you watch that?
No, I think I saw.
I didn't see that.
She was sneaky. She's right there, and just she doesn't know she's on camera, and she just takes the wedding ring. Okay, number 4, Stormy Daniels. Stormy weather. Stormy Daniels is back. Stormy Daniels was arrested inside a strip club for letting a customer touch her. She's back in the news. Okay, so let's vote on these guys. Hey, Steve, you want to go first?
Sure.
Which is the worst one?
I got to tell you which is the worst one. Well, I got to go with Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels. Okay, that's 1 for Steve. Julian, do you want to play with us, or are you too busy back there?
Yeah, I missed it.
Okay. Patty, who do you think?
I'm sorry, but I think the students protesting Trump has got to be just ludicrous.
Oh, yeah. There's so many good ones. George?
I missed that Stormy Daniel. I wasn't at that club, but damn,
yeah, sure. Is that who you want to vote for?
Yeah, number 4. Okay. I missed that one.
I tell you, this is really tough for me. For me, it's between the Stockton giving away free money. My goodness, $500. But the SCOTUS pick, I know that there are kids that do that, and the arrogance of them. So you know what? I'm going to agree with Patty on that. So it's a tie.
They're clueless. They'll protest anything that Donald Trump does, and they were already protesting before he even made a decision. So it's like
most of these people are just paid by the Obama organization and George Soros.
No, but some of these are just kids. These were just kids they were talking to from on campus, weren't they? You think that they were paid, some of them?
Well, a lot of these protests, that's where a lot of them are paid, and then the other people come out that are used to doing these protests, and they have no clue what they're doing out there.
Yeah, they're paying them.
They just hate Trump. They just hate Trump.
And I read an article where they were paying people to be a protester, and you just had to sign up. And they had them in front of the Supreme Court that night.
It's the same people that are doing all these protests ever since the first
but
one, the vagina pink hats from after the election.
Yeah.
The same people.
Oh, gosh. Did you watch the video? Because I think some of these people just didn't know, and they just hate Trump. I don't know necessarily that they're being paid. They just, like George says.
I have a little theory on how all these people show up, because it's all across America. It doesn't matter whether it's the Supreme Court steps or New York or Florida or wherever they marched. Do you remember years ago when kids got on their phone and they would say, hey, there's an empty house for rent or sale, and let's go party there? And, like half an hour later, there'd be 600 kids there. How did that happen? So you mentioned Obama, and I feel that he's got all these little district offices all over the United States, well-funded by Soros.
Community organizing.
And I just feel that they put out a blast.
Yeah.
And these kids show up. They don't know what they're showing up for, but do you notice how all their flyers and banners are pretty professional looking? Mm-hmm. So you can't do that instantaneously, so it's something organized, and they go in. That's just a theory. I don't know if that's how it works.
I think you're right.
Remember after the shooting, that big event they had in Washington?
Yeah.
That was organized by the Women's March people, the same people.
No, and I'm not doubting that happens. This particular video, though, I do think that you could go on campus and you could find these kids, and they don't know anything. Just out of ignorance, they would say so.
Like George was saying about England. Same people. I mean, when you said that, isn't that what happens on every single campus every day?
So the winner is?
There's a guy. Well, we had a tie. You didn't hear me say that. So we had a tie between the Students Hate Trump SCOTUS pick before he makes it, and Stormy Daniels arrested inside a strip club for letting a customer touch her. There's always some good ones. All right, so let's go for the whole enchiladas because we don't like to be negative all the time. So we like to reward good behavior,
Yes,
right?
that's
and,
right.
And we do. We still have some great Americans out there. Okay, so Kelsey, let's see. The first one is Candace Owens chastises Maxine Waters, who predicts major black exit from the Democrat Party. So she's saying there's going to be a major black exit from the Democrat Party. Impeach 45. I like to do that. I'm sorry. That's my Maxine Waters impression.
Yes, I think that's great.
Yeah.
They're deserting.
So Candace Owens chastises Maxine Waters, so we're nominating her. Number 2 nominee is Kelsey Grammer. Reproductive rights is a dishonest name for abortion. I don't know if you got to see that.
No.
But yeah, and he said that. He goes, you know,
Kelsey Grammer?
Kelsey Grammer, who is a conservative. He's a conservative,
Yeah.
actor, Republican. And
Well, good for him.
he had the guts, he had the stones to come out and say that. You know, if you really say they call it reproductive
Yeah.
rights, no, it's really not.
No.
That's a dishonest name for it.
Yep.
Our number 3 nomination is St. Jude family member repeats emotional thanks to Eric Trump on live TV.
That's good.
So that was.
I have
You have another one?
Yeah. In yesterday in the news conference in Europe, when President Trump was being questioned by the news media, he got to Acosta, and Acosta
That was
wanted to
great.
say,
That's my
ask him
favorite
a que-
video.
He wanted to ask him a question. He goes,
Yeah.
he went like past him. He goes, wait a minute, what about me? He says, no, you're fake
Yeah.
news. You're with CNN. And he goes, I'm not. CNN is legitimate. He said, you're still fake news. I'll go to Fox True News. I was busting up because he moted him right there in front of all of his buddies, all of his reporter buddies. And I know they go in a clique because they're all there in Europe.
Yeah.
And so I know after that, they probably go, man, the president really moted you, you know, like you got slapped.
CNN is legitimate, President. CNN is legitimate. That was my favorite video of the week that I posted.
But I could imagine him. I could imagine when he went, you know, because they all get together after that. You know, they probably like shaking their heads, like, "Man, you got moted by the president."
So you got to come up with something like, you know, he got trumped or something. So
You got trumped by Trump.
Yeah.
You got Trump
Oh
by
yeah,
Trump.
that's a good one.
So you nominated Trump. All
That's
right.
my vote.
So you're going to vote for that?
Yes.
Steve?
I
What
cracked
about
up.
you?
That's my
favorite
That's
video
yours
of all
too?
week.
Yeah.
Okay, Patty, you want to vote on this?
I'm
Which
going to
is
do the Maxine Water girl because Maxine is so out of line as an elected official, stirring up really hatred and riot and you name it.
Yeah, I
So-
agree. Candace Owens, awesome.
She needed to be called on for that.
Okay. And me, it's always, man, I shouldn't leave myself last because I always have such a hard decision. I loved all of them, including the Trump one. Awesome, awesome. But you know what I'm going to give it to you? I'm going to give it to Kelsey Grammer because not enough of these stars get out and say that. They're coming little by little. There's some good ones. James Woods.
Yeah.
There's other people. And they will say, so I want to give it to him because he's so right. And, you know, we're big pro-lifers. And I'm glad that he spoke out about it. Okay, so looks like Trump won, though. He's the winner. Da, 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 da. He got the whole
Acosta
enchilada.
getting Trump.
Well deserved, President
Yay.
Trump. Donald J. Trump. Awesome. Okay, Steve, I want to give you some time to promote your event.
Yes, so we just, this last Saturday, July 7th, we kicked off our Freedom Quest America Praise Rally. I'm so excited about this, and the goal is to set this up here in Arizona. We're going to rotate to different churches, but we wanted this to happen all over the country because the key to taking back America starts with prayer. So it's called Praise and Prayer Rally, and we had people come together. We have a worship service, we have a time to pray, and then we bring in a speaker to give us an inspirational message. So again, it's to bring Christians together from all different denominations, and let's come together to pray. First of all, it starts in our own community, in our own city, in our own town, in our own state. Let's work where we're planted, where God has us planted, and then we want to see this grow. And my goal is to get someone to sponsor this in every state. And I want to try and make this happen before even the next election. If you can imagine, even if it's a handful of people meeting, praying the first Saturday of every month. So our next one is Saturday, August 4th from 9 a.m. We have training for new members, which is free. Partners are those who want to sign up for the Eagle Seminar. And then we come in, we strategize, we talk to the new guests to give them a little presentation of what we're doing, and then we prepare for the worship service, starting with prayer. So it's really exciting. We brought in Carol Sewell for our first one, who wrote this book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was really great. And the people that showed up were all very influential people, past candidates. Gabby popped in, and
Gabby Southern Mercer.
Yeah, and I've only shaken her hand one time, but I've been a big fan of hers. And I was up the other night talking with her for about an hour and a half, and so God is going to start bringing some amazing people. But think about this: if God's people can't unite, then we don't deserve to keep this country. It is up to us to be the light and the salt of the earth. So we have 3 more of these before the next election, and we have approximately 17 weeks before the next election to get this really going. I want to build a model, and people like what you are doing there, there's great patriots in our state. And if we can come together and show the rest of the country, and by the way, I'm starting one of these next is in Texas, out of Dallas, because Texas and Arizona are very instrumental and strategic when it comes to the immigration issue. Education is my second issue, and the third one is let's take back the abortion issue. Let's turn this thing around, and we can with the next 2 judges that come in, I believe.
Steve, does this cost any money?
No, the rally? No, that's absolutely free. We're talking about we'll probably take past the cup as most services do, because I want to bless the speaker, and I really believe I want to bless those who do the worship and stuff. So right now we're just kind of trusting the Lord at this point. But we're at One Church Scottsdale, August 4th, just off the freeway in North Scottsdale, Sweetwater and Hayden Road. Great little perfect venue for us, and so I want to encourage you guys to come out, and that's what the other thing is. All of us working in our own issues and things, let's promote one another, encourage one another, and again, but then I give a strategy of how we can do it. 7 minutes a day we pray, 7 minutes a day we send out a link, or make a 30-second phone call, send out a link to 7 people, and then the next 7 minutes is follow up with the 7 people you sent the link to. It's called the 7-7-7 plan. Simple strategy, and that's how we're going to grow this 2 by 2. I use the strategy that Jesus used. He started with Peter and Andrew, 2 brothers, and it worked out pretty good thus far. Yeah. Look how big it's grown.
It's kind
about
of
1 billion people.
A marketing deal, and precinct committeemen can do this too.
We want politicians. The smart politicians are going to get involved. This, of course, it's primarily seeking Christian leaders, business leaders, and those who are political leaders out there. But what really brings us together is we're patriots and we love God.
And give your website out again.
FreedomQuestAmerica.com. And like me on my Facebook and all the other things that we're doing.
Great. We really appreciate you coming in today. Always a good friend. And who knows, might be a show in your future.
Well, you guys have set the model for me and the example. And of course, Alice, I love and respect you so much. We go way back, but you've always been there to encourage me.
Well.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you. I know you've been working hard. We met, in fact, where we met Steve? Do you remember, George? We went to a tea party.
Yeah, the tea party.
You might have been at that tea party when they used to have them at the airport.
Yes.
Remember?
I used to go often.
Mike Davis.
That's the first place we've been?
I think so, because we were there, we spoke, and then you got up and spoke also.
Okay.
And you spoke about
the
citizenship swearing in ceremony.
And then we met him at another place after that. Because you invited us to it.
Oh my gosh, it's time to end the show. Can you believe it?
Where's the chips and salsa, though?
I know.
You still don't have the chips and salsa.
You were supposed to bring it. All right, well, we're going to be back next Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll be here with Sandra Dowling, candidate for Congress. And we also have Diane Douglas, who's running for the state superintendent.
2 great candidates.
I'm Alice Lotto with
Jorge.
And thank you, Patty Stetson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve Sandoval. Thank you,
My
Julian,
pleasure.
Allison, for taking care of us. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. You chipsters out there, thanks for your support. We'll be back next week with the Chips Salsa Show here on Center Right Radio, right here for you.
Getting ready to meet Vladimir Putin. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News. President Trump spending the weekend at his golf resort in Scotland. Fox's Kevin Corke reporting from Glasgow.
The president will not only be here in Scotland, folks, having some meetings and playing a bit of golf. He'll be doing a great deal of preparation for that big summit. Okay, it's a bilateral, if you will, with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
President Trump, as we said, spending his weekend in Scotland. The meeting will come just days after a federal grand jury indicted 12 Russian intelligence officers for allegedly stealing Democratic emails during the 2016 campaign. The president has said he will bring up Russian meddling in the U.S. election when he sits down with Putin. The president had plenty of company in Scotland, thousands of protesters. More from Sally Lockwood of our sister network, Sky News.
But there was no escaping the protests which have followed him north of the border. Thousands taking to the streets of Edinburgh. The overriding message, you're not welcome here.
We don't like his politics. We don't want his politics here.
So we all make choices in life and he's making choices that aren't